Hi guys, welcome to Musical Movements podcast. It's myself, DJ Rav C. I'm here with Aaron, and today we are going to talk about the job that goes on behind the camera. So everything that you don't actually see, from loading our vans to setting up at the gig to offloading, and maybe any sort of dramas that we've had in between.
You're forgetting waking up before the alarm clock goes off as well, man.
I was hoping for a little pause there, but absolutely. I mean, do you know what? When you're kind of DJing and you've got a booking planned, right? It doesn't matter whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. You know in the back of your head what you need to plan. And that's how I work anyway. I know I've got to be on the ball. It's not just about sort of turning up to the venue, setting up and going home. Everything's got to be hit, hasn't it? Like all those sort of validity points that you think about, from equipment to music, you know, and that sort of thing. But this podcast, we're going to predominantly focus on the loading and the offloading part of things, and you know, any funny stories in between, maybe.
I'm sure there's quite a few funny
I
stories.
could imagine.
Especially us two at that.
Yeah, it is naughty.
But yeah, man. What about you? How do you reckon it's changed through the years as well? Like, do you remember when we used to set up to what it is now?
Oh man, do you know what? I've got so much going through my head the second you said that. I remember the first sort of bookings I was doing with a DJ crew that I was working with that are still good friends with me. The first thing that came to mind was the size of equipment back then. Like, do you remember the mad scan lights that you used to get, and you could only fit like 2 in a flight case, and we had to take like 8 or 16 with us, and TVs and stuff like that. And we're trying to, like, you know, shove it all into like a medium wheelbase transit. But to answer your question, I would say things got smarter. Things have got smaller. Definitely. You know, we're not lugging 120 records with us. We're not taking our 1210 decks anymore in flight cases, and these huge lights and whatever else. Trussing as well. Oh my God, that was like too big back then. But yeah, so I would say it definitely got smarter. There's also been instances where I've done bookings, like in a car. Like, you know, if you can fit a couple of tops in, you can go. But you know, evolving from that and then going into storage units and lugging flight cases, and then struggling to lift them up with someone that's like skinnier than me. It's like, you get that side, I'll get this side. But yeah, it's got bigger, I would say, in terms of like the functions have got bigger, the decor's got bigger, the visual, the audio kind of aspect of things have definitely got bigger, but smarter, if that makes sense, you know? Because nowadays we can almost ask people to set our stuff up, you know, like you can outsource things. And I don't know, I've got loads going on in my head. Let me know what you're thinking.
Do you know what? I think it's been a crazy journey. Like when I first started, we used to have like 2 vans going out to bookings. You have a van full of sound, and then another van full of lighting and all the X, Y, Z. And then going forward now, what I've noticed is I'm turning up most of my bookings, fit in a nice size van. I'm like, oh, this is all right. You know, it's a lot more cleaner looking. I think that's the key to like now is the setups. Is let's get things looking really, really clean, and you know, it's more visually pleasing to the clients. You don't have 100 cables running around, and yeah, I think that basically, to me, it's hitting the nail on the head now.
Speaking of that was going to be my phrase. That was actually going to be my phrase. You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And
I beat you to the punchline.
You took the words out of my mouth. But I think you are spot on there. It depends, like, firstly on the type of function you're doing. You know, so if you're doing something that's kind of medium sized, to me, if it's something that I can cater for, i.e., I can use my own equipment, you know, that takes the hardest work, because you've got to go and get that out of wherever you keep it.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, I'm going back a few years. I used to actually keep a lot of my rig at the side of my house. Okay. I'm not going to advertise my address right now, but it's all right. Yeah. But no, really, it wasn't. And it wasn't, you know, it's like a 2-man lift, most of the stuff. You're dragging bass bins out, you know, and prior to that, you've got to make sure that, you know, you're like the traffic side of things okay as well. So there's so much going on in your head.
Yeah, Friday night, M25, you think, oh
no. Yeah. Mate, I'm telling you, I've got like a funny story, right? I always had this kind of scare that this van that I bought, again, probably going back about 5 or 6 years, would just break down on me when I don't need it to. And do you know what I mean? Because you do have that fear. So it's like, right, DJs, get roadside cover. That's number one. And make sure they can drop you off wherever you need to get to. So if I break down, my priority would be, I don't care about my van. I need to get to the venue. I need to make sure that I'm going to get towed or, taken to this venue with my equipment. I'll worry about my van later. I don't care. So I've had a couple of one major close call, but I'll come on to that in a moment, unless there's something you want to fit in with. Because
See, I've never ever worried about vans breaking down, but my worry is always it's actually the over engineering side. Like, okay, now I don't want to turn up with my whole unit at the event, but I need to make sure I've got enough kit. So it's like, I'm there 3 days prior to the event, sorting all my cables out. I'm like,
wow,
I know what's in the unit, I know what's in the cases, but why do I need to do this every booking? It goes beyond me, but it's
dedication.
it's not that old habits die hard,
Yeah.
So I'd rather be thorough in what we do.
I think that goes without saying, really. You need to kind of make sure that your day's as smooth as possible. To avoid unnecessary snags that you don't need. There's absolutely no point.
The thing is, we're going to always bump into roadblocks. Like, how many times do you go to an event where you're at a venue and you said that our loadings between, say, 1 and 3 o'clock? That's your allocated time. You get there and you're an hour early. You're like, cool, I can wait in my van an hour early. It gets to your time. You're like, wait, hold on. Why is people not moving? And then you spend like 2 hours trying to get into the venue, and then you're like, now I need to work hard. It's just like, it's part and parcel of what we do.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I think a little bit of education, like even as DJs, I know we take a lot of time getting our kit in. But if we all sort of work together with like the caterers and everyone said, look, let's get your vans in, get them out. I think when you have a good set team and they all do that, it works so much better.
No, totally. But I think the other side of that sort of spectrum, you've also got to understand. Like, sometimes somebody will go to you, look, you need to be set up Friday, let's say 4 or 5 o'clock. Okay, I know no one's going to be there at 4 or 5 o'clock. Right? This is a typical kind of Asian wedding, for example. Okay, but I'd like you set up 4 or 5. And you know what? I will do that. I will also say to the client, look, people are kind of working. Like, are you sure you're going to have people there? Because I will be set up for when you need. That's not a problem. But again, like, it's hard work. There's hard work involved with it. It's not just kind of like, I'll be there anytime you say, and and that's the thing. You can't do that to other people. Like, imagine you're working at, I don't know, like B&Q or something. You can't go, hey John, could you come in like 6 hours early tomorrow if you don't mind? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things, really.
But then I'll tell you what always used to get me was when you used to have the crew members. I'm not feeling too good today. Or I had too much to drink. I'm like, guys.
I was a crew member. No, I'm joking. That was me.
But that always used to get me think, okay, well, all right, sweet. So I always used to say, all right, if I've got to be at a venue at X amount of time, if I had to do it myself, what time would I need to leave? If you have that in mind, always you can always make things work. Call your friends, family, call whoever. I need a little bit of assistance today.
Yeah, but you always give yourself that hour extra. And nowadays, look, Google, what's the navigating thing?
Maps.
Google Maps, right? Google Maps.
You say Google Maps.
You've got these other ones as well now, haven't you? You've got all these apps, right? They're game changers. You think about it, mate. I've done bookings in the Midlands on a Friday night. It wasn't fully my booking, but I was DJing and, I was part of the road crew, or whatever you want to call it. And, mate, we got there. And it wasn't our fault. There was a major accident on the M1. And we got there and it was like 8 o'clock or something like that. And we had to lug our equipment upstairs. I'm talking like 2 flight stairs. And you've got people in there already. And we're setting up, So we had to prioritize, like, right, first thing, let's get some audio, get some music. So we've got something going there. But they were a lovely crowd, in fairness. They knew it was something major. But the only way they would have found out about it back then was like on the news. Yeah, it wasn't no internet telling you there's like traffic on the M1, but it's one of those things. Yeah.
So good crowd. Yeah.
Yes.
What music was it then?
That particular night, top of my head, it was mainly Punjabi music, but it was a pre-wedding party from what I remember. This is a long time ago. I'm going back about 18, 19 years plus, maybe. So it was a long, long time ago. But like I can recall not so long ago, not recent, but I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. Um, I just like my van didn't feel right. Okay, so I took it into a garage, and I'm telling you, the guy said to me, "Your battery seems to be going kind of flat." He tested it, whatever. He said, "Look, when you drive, and I'm no mechanic, and I think you are. You're kind of more. You've got loads of stuff in your car. You
Tools isn't a lot of stuff.
But like he said to me, turn your lights on, have your radio on, and just drive. He goes, that will charge the battery because it's going flat, alternator or something like that. I was like, do you know what? I've got somewhat of a mechanical background from my family, but I'd never heard that. Next morning, what did I do? I did exactly what he told me to. So I'm driving along the A406, okay, in a transit, and I'm telling you, like my gauges just started like flicking up. My lights were going crazy, the radio, and I'm thinking, what on earth is going on? I've done what he's told me to, and slowly, like literally, I just lost all power in my car, van, sorry. And this was literally on the A406 kind of Wembley Junction. And bearing in mind, I'm not from around that area, so I don't know it very well.
Can I get a date, a time, so I can like say sorry to everyone for causing a massive incident, like backing up traffic?
No, it wasn't that bad because I managed to just scrape off, but I couldn't get out of first gear. So if I had put it in second, I know it would have stalled. I know it would have stalled. I might have like put it in there, but then I thought, look, if I'm going uphill, you got to stay in first. There was nothing on the accelerator whatsoever, and I'm telling you, so I didn't have the audacity to even try and turn the van off. I thought if I turn it off and don't switch on again, I'm out of it. I'm stuck, and somehow I managed to crawl my van to the venue where I was DJing. And it was a day function to begin with. And I'm not kidding you, I literally parked right outside the doors and I didn't care. I didn't care at the minute. I was like, right, I've got to get my stuff in there, chucked everything in there, came back out, wouldn't start, obviously. So I had to get like the guests to give me a bit of a push to move my van out of the way. I think 2 of them were the door players as well. And they kindly helped me move my van. I thought, okay, worry about that after the booking. But yeah, that was one to remember because I was one ignition turn away from not making it to that venue, literally. So someone was looking over me, thankfully, and I managed to make it. But that was certainly a close call. Worst part for you of a gig? Setting up or packing away?
Do you know what? The worst part for me on a booking is when you have to turn the music off. I always that's my bit where I'm like, oh, but I just want one more song. I want one more. Just one more is all I want. And then you get the venues are like, one more. And I'm like, yeah, just one more. Just one more. And they're like out. I'm like, all right.
Some are really strict,
and it's just like you want to perform for your crowd, and they're in your vibe, and everything's going well, and you're like, oh, I just want one more. That, for me, when it was like, okay, enough's enough. I know we try our best, like 10, 15 minutes before it shut down. We try to slow things down a little bit if we need to. But then sometimes it's just like, oh, I just want to play one more tune.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. It is like that when you're there. But then when that moment comes, when you know there is no more music to play, because look, some venues are really strict, and if they have an allocated time, that music's got to be off at midnight. I make sure it's off at 11:58, 11:50. I make sure because
you don't want to fall out with people, with the venues and stuff.
Totally. But then comes the worst part for me is like
pack down, yeah.
No.
I don't mind the pack down.
Yeah, the cables. That's easy. It's like
a bit I hate is the putting boots back on. Like, I always put steel toe caps back on when I'm packing up.
Yeah.
There's been too many close calls. Like putting the boots back on, like plugging around.
The struggles,
I think that's really the hardest bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't physically mind the packing up part. It's if you've got someone reliable and decent with you, maybe you've got a team, especially since working with musical movements, I prefer just to have the rig set up if I can. It's all done, you're in and out. But there's been instances where we've done bookings and I've had to then offload the gear after I've packed up. So I offload it into another van, I don't know, because I don't know what else was going on, and you're like 3 a.m. and you're still lugging gear about, and then it's got to be put into your storage unit. It's
Part of the fun, man.
wow. It's got to be done, and,
Yeah.
and you've got to be willing and passionate to do it all.
I think you need to start crewing with me, man.
Oh no, man!
I think we have. I think we have too much
No,
fun.
no, I'm staying here. No,
So,
I'm all for it.
Park, yeah, come down.
Yeah. But it's not even that, so I think clients need to appreciate that you're not just, getting in your van and driving somewhere. Someone, whether it's you or your team member, has actually got to, yeah, but it's even picking it, putting it in the van, taking it there, offloading, bringing it back. And when I say bringing it back, that's just putting it in the van. You've then got to put it back where it belongs. And, just that transportation alone is a lot of work,
Okay, check this one then. A normal reception party, let's say it finishes at 12:30.
Yeah.
What's the latest you come home from that? Packed up, van away, you're getting into your bed, ready to go to sleep.
I mean, obviously it depends on location. So there's, things are coming to mind as I'm thinking about this. Like I've not been home till the next day. if that
Next
makes
day,
sense.
yeah.
Like next day. But recently I would say there was a booking in like Wembley, Intercontinental Hotel or something. I don't know. I can't remember. Wembley Park, somewhere around there. Mate, I got stuck. That was the day I had to change a lot of gear from one van to another van for whatever reason. Can't remember, but there was an accident on there in one, and I was literally at the front of it. And I'm not exaggerating. I was the first car that got stopped.
But you weren't the cause of the accident, yeah?
Nope, definitely not.
Points up, man.
Listen, I've been driving 4 years, 0 points on my license. Touch wood. So
He's done well there.
yeah, I've done well. But you want to maintain that. But yeah, so I didn't get home till it was about 6 or 7 that day. But bearing in mind, I only went to an hour's drive from my house. That's a bit of a shift, isn't it? But that's expected, and yeah. What about you? I hear you're going to tell me a story.
Crazy.
Oh,
I remember we used to do a lot of like say Hindu ceremonies in the morning, followed by reception parties. And you think, all right, it's doable, and then you say, oh yeah, I've got to go to the next function the next day. So I think the key thing what I've always learned with it is if you're going to do that, make sure you get your downtime. Do the ceremony between the two setups. Make sure you have extra crew. Have a little catnap for half an hour, 40 minutes, but actually do the world of good. And then on the way back, after you've packed up, if you're going to be working the next day, you've got to give that same performance to the next client. So if that means get someone to drive home for you, if you get another half an hour, 40 minutes kip, it actually gives you the world of good. So there's been times you leave your house. I remember I'd done a booking and I had to be up in Birmingham for like 9 o'clock in the morning. So we left early doors, went and done the party, then followed by the reception, and then you're like, okay, cool. The next party was actually round the corner from my house the next day. By the time we finished the reception party, packed everything back up, to get there was no point going home. I think we got to the venue, we knew the venue. I was like, we're borrowing your showers now. We had a shower and then went set up for the Hindu ceremony and we're back on it again.
Yeah.
And then and then all the days sort of merge into one. You're just like it's one after the
One
other.
big party.
But then do you know what? You don't mind doing that when you got your crowd in front of you and they all love they love what you do. And the great thing is you build your bond up with your clients. So you've been in contact with this client for say 6 months to a year. You've gone out, you had a couple of drinks with them, you've met up with a few people, you've met they met their parents, their cousins, their best friends, and then throughout the day you're doing all the speeches with them and helping.
You're like family member.
Afterwards you get a box of lotus at the bottom. You're like wicked.
Then I'll be Apple.
So it's all like it's great, but like there's some shifts that we do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But yeah, it's expected, isn't it? But I think again, clients may not realise that, and it's not their job to, because our sole purpose is to make sure we entertain our crowds and make sure that they have the best day ever for whatever purpose. But yeah, as long as they appreciate what goes into it as well, I think would massively help us. And that can bring us on to another topic as well about kind of like a lot of DJs are willing to go out there for less than what it's really worth. When you add up what we've just been through, plus the equipment, etc. But that's another story, maybe another podcast,
Another
another
story,
day.
another chapter, another book,
chapter,
another novel.
another novel. Absolutely.
I tell you what, we had I had one of my I was doing a reception party, lovely couple. End up being really close mates with the guy after years and years. He'll know exactly who he is, DJ Khaled, and then yeah, it's his nickname, Dupesh. But like we've grown like such a great relationship with a customer, become like best friends. Our kids all go out together, and I'm like, oh, I'm stuck at a booking and I need a little bit of help. He's the first person to say, I'm there. And when he sees what goes in, he's like, yeah, that's cool, man.
Was his name Dupesh?
Yeah.
Like, see, Dupesh is one of those guys that you need to DJ for, because you know when you get to the venue, he's going to have like an army of people. Do you need a hand? And even though like I'm always like the type of person to go, no, I'm all right, I'll be fine, or we're all right, we'll be fine. But you just get these people that no matter what happened, they want something to do. So you're kind of like, oh, okay, you can grab that box. And then he's getting bigger and bigger by the end of it. It's like, oh, while you're there, could you?
I think that booking will always stick with me.
Yeah, big up Dupesh.
Yeah, big up. His booking, I tell you what, it started off like a normal party at 6:30, people walking in, and he like I was reading the itinerary, and I was like, this guy wants a party, and I was like, no way is he gonna have all his speeches done, all the food, everything done by 8:00. No way is it happening. 10 to 8, they were on the dance floor ready. I thought, all right, cool, we got till 12.
Yeah.
They had it till 5:00 in the morning.
Oh my God.
It got to 4. I think it got to like 4:30, and I was like, wow, these know how to party. And then actually had another DJ actually turn up he goes, you're still going? I'm like, yeah. He goes, let me come and drop a set for half an hour. This is my type of crowd.
I'll be like,
he walked in and he's like, it's 4:30 in the morning and these are still going. Mate, basically, I think that party was, I actually left equipment there that night. I said to them, I go, have you got anything tomorrow? They're like, Aaron, you're here tomorrow. Have we got a party in the morning? No. Great. And I was like, the next customer that day, they only paid for a small setup. They got a massive upgrade that day.
Yeah, but this is the other thing though, isn't it? Like clients will book like equipment going by what they think is right for that venue, you know, without actually consulting us and going, or even speaking to the venue. Why get 6 bass bins and 8 tops? I don't know, when there's a sound limiter in the venue, or why get 8 moving heads when really you can get away with a couple. People will be like, turn that down, it's blinding me while I'm trying to eat my starters or dinner and that sort of thing. So sometimes you end up providing equipment, overloading more than what you really need, just because the client thinks that's what they require for that type of venue. When consulting is so important, because one thing we'll do is make sure that we touch base with the venue, to understand what's acceptable, what the minimum is, that you need, and then above that is up to you if you need anything extra, And I think it's easy to get kind of like, it's like going to buy a car and you don't need like all the fully loaded bits and bobs in there, but you're just getting it for the sake of it. So you can't go above 60 miles an hour, but that's when the auto, what's it called, the cruise control is activated. I'm making this up, by the way, but why get it when you don't need it is my point. Do you understand? So yeah, but then they need to understand, you've just made me load all of that because you asked for it, so I'm going to bring it. Yeah,
it's all part of fun, isn't it?
I don't call it fun anymore. I've got to that time. No fun. So to kind of finish off, I think it's imperative that couples establish their kind of venue before they book a DJ. I mean, by all means, book us. Book Musical Movements. This is what we kind of want, or who we want. But then before you go ahead and book all the equipment, you need to know your venue, what they will allow and what they won't allow, because you'll end up either getting too much or too little. And so you almost need to work backwards, if that makes sense. So that's the advice I always give, particularly couples, or that sort of looking to get married, is look, where is your? Oh well, we quite haven't really got a venue yet because of the pandemic or whatever. So yeah, that's always my kind of advice.
But the good thing is, then whilst they're looking at, if they look at a website, you got all the DJs there, and I think it's quite easy to reach out to all of us. Everyone's on social media and bits and bobs. Have a little chit chat, and to be honest, we've played at so many of these venues. We're probably going to give them a good understanding of what we feel.
Mm.
Because like they might say, oh yeah, my wedding has to outdo X person's wedding who had this. It's like,
Yeah.
well, that was in a great big room. You got a small room. You could probably do half that size. And it's going to look the same effect.
Totally. I think obviously like now we're in that era where it's all about kind of visual displays as well as kind of, like your booth setups or whatever.
You better say big sound system.
Mate, it's all about the sound system. If you ain't got the bass, then it's in your face.
Yeah, some of us are hard of hearing, huh?
Yeah.
What?
But yeah, you've got to get that kind of balance right as well. Visual stuff is important, but if a couple just like kind of phone you up, like, yeah, we want screens. You're like, okay, like what type of screens? Like, we're talking, video walls, are we talking plasmas, are we talking like projector screens or whatever? And all of that depends on the type of venue, because you've got to think about the space you've got, the lighting, that makes a massive difference as well. And what looks right in there, screens, obviously you can put up portrait or landscape and that sort of thing. So, get to know who your DJ crew are, speak to, Rugs, basically. He'll kind of give you the ins and outs of what you need and what you don't need, because that's the important thing. Otherwise,
I think that's the key, is what you don't need. You don't want to be going out and sort of getting things that, why do you need that?
Yeah,
it's not required.
Because the bottom line is, we have to go through that challenge of loading our vans, offloading it like we started off, and we get there, we're like, we didn't even need this. So the bottom line is, guys, if you are going to book musical movements, make sure you have a proper consultation chat with us so we can make sure that you get the right equipment for your big day.
I think that's perfect.
Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. It's Rav C signing out along with DJ A89. And please do remember, our podcasts are uploaded every Sunday. You can catch them on Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. And I hope to see you at your next function.
Peace.
Peace.